Hi, my name is Avery Collins, and this is not fiction. This is what actually happened to me last fall in Boston. I'm 24 years old, and until recently, I thought I understood love, how it grows, how it breaks, and how sometimes it hides the darkest secrets. This story isn't for the faint of heart because when love turns to betrayal, and the two people you trusted the most become strangers overnight, it doesn't just break you, it redefines you. If you've ever been lied to, if you've ever loved someone who wasn't who they said they were, then stay with me and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story if it resonates with you. This story is written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries. I met Eli Grant on a random Thursday afternoon. That looked like every other Thursday afternoon in downtown Boston. Gray sky, the smell of coffee thick in the air, and the sound of impatient cab drivers yelling at red lights. I had just left a job interview that went nowhere and ducked into a used bookstore to get out of the drizzle. I wasn't in the mood for people or smiles or anything really. But there he was, tall, black denim jacket, headphones around his neck, completely immersed in a book. I couldn't see the title if I should have. Walked past him, but when he looked up, it was like someone turned the volume down on the world. His smile wasn't loud, it was quiet confidence, and when he said, "Hey," I answered even though I didn't want to. We talked for 3 hours in a bookstore about music books, how we both hated pineapple on pizza, and how we both had complicated relationships with our parents. He walked me home in the rain without an umbrella, and I didn't even care that my hair was ruined. That was the beginning. And like all beginnings, it felt honest. We spent 3 months falling in sync, like we'd done this 100 times in another life. He played guitar in a local indie band. I was a barista, still trying to figure out who I was outside of my degree in visual arts. Every night he'd hum a melody into my shoulder and I'd sketch while he played. It was soft. It was easy. Until I met Sophie Lane. Sophie was one of those women who walks into a room and suddenly every other girl in the room rethinks her outfit, her posture, her worth. She was stunning, golden skin, soft curls, a laugh that could drown out sirens. But it wasn't just her looks. It was how she knew things about wine, literature, politics. I met her at a gallery where I was showing two of my paintings. She said she loved my use of negative space. No one ever said that before. I liked her immediately. She wasn't intimidating. She was magnetic. She texted me the next day, said she had a group of friends who met on weekends to talk about art and drink bad sangria. I said yes without thinking. That's where I saw the first crack. Eli was quiet when I told him about Sophie, not jealous, just off. "She's a lot," he said. I laughed it off. I should have listened, but I didn't. Because when you're falling, everything looks like trust. Sophie and I became close fast. She told me about her on-again, off-again boyfriend who never made up his damn mind. We never talked about names. That was mistake number one night. Eli picked me up from Sophie's apartment. She came down to say hi. They both froze. It was less than a second, but my gut screamed. I asked him later and he lied like he'd practiced. "She just looks familiar." I wanted to believe him. I did, because believing him meant I wasn't stupid, but in the days that followed, things shifted. Sophie got distant. Eli got weirdly attentive, too perfect. He bought flowers for no reason, took me out to the restaurant I'd mentioned in passing 3 months earlier, and he kept asking how close Sophie and I were getting. I didn't realize it then, but he wasn't jealous, he was calculating. Truth didn't come crashing. It trickled one afternoon. I borrowed Eli's laptop to find an old email attachment. A notification popped up from a hidden messages app. "You coming over tonight?" "She thinks I'm at rehearsal." My blood froze. I clicked it. The sender was saved as just an emoji, but the thread was long, intimate, recent. The timestamps matched nights he was out with the band. There were photos, not explicit, but enough. Her hand, his lap, a glass of wine I recognized from Sophie's kitchen. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I stared at the screen and felt my chest go silent. My hands moved before my brain caught up. I took screenshots. I sent them to myself. I waited. That night, I invited both of them over, told Eli I had something special planned. Told Sophie I had a surprise she'd love. When they both walked in 10 minutes apart, they froze the way liars do when they see each other in a room. They weren't expecting. Eli tried to speak first. "Avery, this isn't what you think." Sophie stayed silent. That told me everything. I pulled out the printed messages, the photos, placed them on the table like tarot cards. Then I looked at Sophie and asked how long. She whispered, "Before you?" That hit harder than if she'd said last week. Eli's jaw clenched. He said it was over with her. I was going to tell you. But Sophie laughed, then actually laughed. "Don't lie now, Eli. You were never going to stop. You just wanted both." He reached for me. I stepped back. "I hope you two are happy," I said. "Because now you only have each other." I walked out, left them with their shame and their cheap lies, but The story doesn't end there because betrayal like that doesn't disappear. It echoes, and I thought I walked away clean, but I didn't after I walked away from Eli and Sophie that night. I thought I was doing the empowered thing, the strong thing, like I'd win some invisible medal for having dignity and choosing self-respect over drama, but the truth is, when you love someone that deeply, when they occupy your plans and your playlists and your passwords, you don't just walk away clean, you walk away bleeding even if no one can see it. The first week was numb. I blocked them both, phone, social, email. I moved Eli's things into a box and left it outside his band's rehearsal. Space, no note, just silence. Sophie tried texting from a different number. I deleted it unread, but even silence echoes and I could still hear them in everything. The song Eli wrote about our first trip to Vermont started playing at a diner and I broke a coffee mug from squeezing it too hard. A girl walked past me in the subway wearing Sophie's perfume, and I had to sit down before I passed out. Love doesn't just leave, it lingers like smoke in your lungs long after the fire's out. People said I looked fine. I smiled, posted selfies, went back to work, but inside I was a demolition site. No one tells you how lonely healing feels when you were betrayed by the only two people who knew the real version of you. I started painting again. Not soft watercolors like before, but thick aggressive oil strokes, dark reds, jagged blacks. I filled a whole sketchbook in 1 week. It wasn't art. It was purging. Then something strange happened. Eli's band posted a flyer for a local show at a bar just 2 blocks from my apartment. I hadn't unfollowed their page. I stared at the flyer for an hour, my chest tight, my jaw locked. I didn't plan to go, but the night of the show I found myself getting dressed, not for him, not for revenge, for closure, for proof that I could stand in the same room and not feel a thing. I wore all black hair, pulled up red lipstick sharp enough to cut. When I walked into the bar, it felt like stepping into a memory that no longer belonged to me. The lights, the old wooden stage, the sticky floors. I'd been here with him before, but now I was just an audience member, a ghost with perfect posture. Eli saw me the second he stepped on stage. His voice cracked during the first song. I didn't blink. Sophie wasn't there. I thought that would satisfy something in me, but it didn't. After the show, he came up to me. I didn't move. Avery, he said. His voice was softer than I remembered. You look like someone who doesn't belong to you anymore. I finished. He winced. I was a coward, he said. I didn't know how to let go of the past or the person I was when I was with her, but what we had, it was real. I laughed, quiet, bitter. You don't get to say that. You don't get to romanticize the part where you lied to my face for weeks. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the tiny sketch I gave him on our second date. I still carry this. I took it, ripped it in half. Now you don't. I thought that would be the end, but trauma has layers. The next morning, Sophie was waiting outside my apartment, drenched in rain, hair a mess, eyes red. I almost shut the door in her face, but curiosity won. She looked broken. I let her in. She didn't speak for 5 minutes, just stared at the floor. Then she said, "He's lying to you still." I raised a brow. There's nothing left to lie about. She handed me her phone, showed me messages from last week. Romantic, desperate. He's still playing. Use both, she said. I thought we had something real, but I think you were always the one. I almost laughed, almost instead. I said, so you betrayed me for someone who was betraying both of us? She nodded, and I regret it more than anything. I didn't know whether to cry or slap her. My world tilted all over again. I didn't come here for forgiveness, she said. I came to say you were never second. I was. Then she left, and suddenly I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. Because even now, with the truth bleeding out of every corner, the damage was already done. He broke us both, and we let him. But that's not the twist. Because the next week I saw Eli again, and what he said next made me question everything. I didn't want to see Eli again. I had made peace with the chaos, or at least I was pretending to. But the universe, or whatever cruel narrator was scripting my life, had other plans. I was walking home from the art supply store with 2 canvas rolls under my arm when I heard my name like a ghost echo, Avery. And there he was standing outside my old cafe job, like he belonged in that part of my world again. For a second, I almost didn't recognize him. His hair was longer, the beard was gone. His eyes, usually electric with charm, looked like burned-out headlights. Please, he said, just 5 minutes. I should have kept walking. I should have been the version of myself I posted online, the strong reborn woman who burned her bridges and never looked back. But closure is a hell of a liar, so I followed him to a nearby park, sat on the same bench where we once talked about moving to Portland and opening an art and music cafe, except now the air between us was polluted. With memory and smoke from someone else's cigarette, he didn't look at me at first, just ran his hand down his face like he was trying to wipe off guilt. I lied to you. He said I didn't speak, but not in the way you think, I narrowed. My eyes. Pretty sure I've covered most of the ways. He shook his head. No, Avery, I lied about who I was before I ever met you. About what Sophie was to me and why I couldn't stay away from her. What followed was a confession I didn't. See, coming Eli wasn't just tangled between two women because of lust or indecision, it went deeper. Sophie was with me before everything went bad, he said. Before my brother died, before the addiction. Before I got clean, she was the one. Who picked me up from jail, who kept me breathing when I didn't want to. I froze. He'd never mentioned a brother, never talked about jail, he continued. She was my past, you were my future, but I never figured out how to let go of the guilt. I owed her. I stared at him, unsure whether I wanted to scream or hug him. So you kept her as an emotional crutch? I asked. He winced. I kept her because I felt like I owed her my life, but with you, I felt like I could start over. He looked up at me, eyes glossy. I know I broke you, but I broke myself a long time ago. I sat there stunned. My pain had always made him the villain, but now I saw the broken boy behind the betrayal. The weight of grief and shame and fear clung to him like wet clothes, and the worst part? I understood it, I saw it, I felt it. So what now? I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. I'm leaving Boston, he said. I got into a music program in Austin. I want to go where no one knows what I did. He handed me something, then his notebook, the one he used to keep lyrics in, page 37, he said, standing to go. It's the last song I wrote about you. Then he left. I didn't open it right away. I sat there until the sun dipped low, then walked home like I was moving through glue at midnight. I opened the notebook. Page 37 was titled, The Only Truth. The lyrics were simple but brutal. She saw through my noise, found poetry in the damage, loved the ghost in me, but it gave her a grevy, and called it home. I read it 3 times, then I cried. Not because I wanted him back, but because even when love dies, its ghost lingers in the songs and the art and the pain we try to paint over the next day. Sophie texted again. He's leaving, did he tell you? I replied yes. She asked if I hated her. I didn't answer. Because hate is a full-time job and I was tired. She said she wanted to meet. I agreed. Part of me wanted to know who she really was. Outside the betrayal, we met at a quiet bookstore cafe like nothing ever happened. She ordered chamomile tea. I ordered black coffee. You don't have to forgive me, she said. But I never lied about thinking you were brilliant. You still are. For the first time, I didn't see the woman who hurt me. I saw a girl who made mistakes inside her own storm. We sat for hours, laughed, cried. Rebuilt something fragile, not friendship. Not yet, but something like it then. She said something that changed everything again. He wasn't the only one lying. I froze. What do you mean? Her hand shook. He was seeing someone else besides us, a girl named Claire from his group therapy. My heart thudded. Sophie slid her phone across the table. Messages, voice notes, photos, all recent, all real. I stared at the screen like it was a mirror cracking. He told Claire we were his past, she said, just like he told you I was. Suddenly all of it collapsed. He didn't choose Sophie. He didn't choose me. He chose the lie. He was addicted to being needed and we were all his fix. But now I had to decide. Do I expose him or finally let it all burn and walk away? After Sophie showed me the truth that there was another girl, Claire, I didn't cry this time. I didn't scream. I felt cold. Not the numb, helpless cold from part 1. This was different. This was clarity. The kind of cold that shows up when you finally understand you were never the problem. You were just a page in someone else's story, scribbled over again and again until even the truth got smudged. I walked home that night in silence, holding my phone in my hand like it was a loaded gun. The messages Sophie showed me were undeniable. Eli wasn't torn between 2 women. He was juggling 3, maybe more, and he wasn't looking for love. He was looking for someone to pour himself into so he didn't have to face the broken mirror of his own identity. But here's what shocked me most. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to ruin him. I didn't want to warn Claire or confront him or send screenshots to his entire contact list like the drama queen version of me from 3 months ago might have. I just wanted out. I wanted freedom, peace, the kind that doesn't need proof or drama or some big showdown, so I did something he never would have expected. I wrote him a letter, not for him to be honest, but for May. Sat down the next morning and wrote the kind of goodbye that doesn't end in question marks. I told him what I learned, not just about him, but about myself, about the way I let red flags become rose-colored because I was too in love with the idea of being loved, about how being chosen by someone doesn't mean they're worthy of Choosing you back, I told him I forgave him not for him to feel better, but so I didn't have to carry his weight anymore. Then I ended with, you are a story I no longer want to reread, and I hope for everyone else's sake you stop writing. The same ending, I didn't sign it with love, I signed it with freedom. I gave the letter to Sophie. You can give it to him if you want, I said, or burn it. I don't care either way, it's out of me now. She nodded. He doesn't deserve. Your Grace, I smiled. That's why it's not for him. A week passed then too, no calls, no texts, just peace. Actual peace. I started painting again, but this time that wasn't angry. It was real, a woman looking into a mirror, but the reflection was smiling back at her. My professor at the art studio saw it and offered to submit it to a regional exhibit. I said yes. I started dating again, not seriously, but with openness. I laughed more. I slept through the night. I stopped stalking Eli's social pages. I let Sophie back in slowly. It's weird how someone who once broke you can become someone who holds the glue. But I saw in her a mirror of my own mistakes, and maybe we both needed to understand what it felt like to be the other woman, to realize we deserved better than being anyone's second. Then 1 month later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name written in handwriting. I knew too well. I hesitated. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet, no apology, no excuses, just, you were right, I don't know who I am. But for what it's worth, you were the only time I wanted to try. It didn't shake me. It didn't hurt. It made me feel nothing, and that's when I knew I was healed. So if you're watching this, if you've ever loved someone who was split between you and someone else who fed you lies like lullabies and made you feel like too much while giving your worth to someone else, know this. You are not their confusion. You are not their mess. You are not their maybe. You are your own ending, and when you walk away, walk like the truth is finally on your side. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If this made you feel seen, or if you've ever survived love that turned into betrayal, then you're not alone. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, so more people can hear stories that speak to the real, raw, and sometimes terrifying parts of our hearts. And as always, this story is written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries.